Okay, so get this right. For this deep dive, we are looking at Zodiac fruits.
Zodiac fruits.
Yeah, Zodiac fruits. So we were listening to this podcast, Quick Bites, super fun podcast. You know, They kind of just like go over like fun food trends and like pop culture and stuff. And they had this segment, I think it was like last week's episode or something like that, about assigning fruits, like different fruits, to like all the Zodiac signs.
Interesting.
So like, if you're a Taurus, you're this fruit. If you're a Pisces, you're that fruit. And we were like, okay, we got a deep dive on this. Like, this is so weird.
I mean, this is right up our alley, right? Like, it's taking something that seems kind of like lighthearted and fun and like, maybe a little bit silly even.
Totally.
And kind of like, diving into like, okay, what's actually going on here? Like, what is this, what does this say about us? Why are we so fascinated with like, finding these connections between like our personalities and like random objects in the world?
Exactly. Yeah. So like, I'm sure like everyone listening has like their sun sign, right? So like, you could look it up, I guess. But we're going to go through, all 12 signs. And we're going to talk about like, what the fruit that Quick Bites assigned to that sign is and maybe why. Like what connections we can find there, whether it's like, from history or, just like in our own like lived experience.
Exactly.
So, should we jump into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Okay, so first up is Aries. So Aries is the ram, very fiery sign. They're known for being like very energetic and bold and, sometimes a little impulsive, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Like very much like the kind of like, pioneering spirit, right? Like the first one to jump into things.
Totally.
Not always thinking it through, but definitely like leading the charge.
Yeah, exactly. And so Quick Bites paired Aries with the strawberry, which they described as sweet, but with a little bit of a kick. So what do you think?
I love that. Like, I think that is such a perfect kind of like encapsulation of Aries energy, right? Like there is that sweetness there. Like they're very, enthusiastic, they're charming, they're fun to be around.
Right.
But then there's also that like that little bit of like, that sharpness, that tang that kind of like reminds you like, okay, this person, like, they're going to go for what they want. They're not afraid to like, ruffle some feathers.
Totally. Yeah. And like, it's funny. I was reading a little bit about like the history of strawberries and like the symbolism around them. And in ancient Rome, strawberries were actually associated with Venus, the goddess of love and passion.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Which, those are also qualities that are often like attributed to Aries. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of a cool connection.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that.
Okay, so moving on to Taurus. Taurus is the bull. Very grounded, loves like comfort and stability.
Yeah, very much like the earth sign, right? Like very sensual, enjoys like the good things in life, Yeah. Good food, good company.
Yeah, that totally. And Taurus is paired with the banana.
The banana.
Which, Quick Bites described as reliable and always satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, you can always count on a banana, right? Like it's there for you. It's sweet. It's filling.
It's so easy. It's convenient.
Exactly. And I think, historically too, like bananas have been associated with fertility and abundance in a lot of cultures.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, I think there's definitely some symbolic resonance there with Taurus.
For sure. Okay, this next one, I was a little bit confused by it at first, but Gemini, the twins, they are represented by the grape.
The grape. Oh.
Which Quick Bites described as small but full of flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking like, grapes are great, don't get me wrong, but like, are they really like complex enough to represent Gemini? You know, like Geminis are known for being like very multifaceted and adaptable, and like they're always good, like, juggling different things.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like at first glance, it might seem like, oh, the grape, that's kind of simple. But actually, I think there's a really clever connection there. Because, if you think about like a bunch of grapes, right? It's not just like one single grape. It's like this whole collection of different grapes. And they all have like slightly different flavors, slightly different textures. And so it's like, within that one bunch, you have all this variety.
Right.
And that's very much like a Gemini, right? Like they have all these different facets to their personality. They're interested in so many different things, and they're able to like kind of like shift and adapt depending on who they're with and what situation they're in.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I didn't think about it like that.
And also, if we look at mythology and symbolism, grapes were associated with Dionysus, the Greek god of wine and theater and ecstasy.
Oh wow.
So again, very much like that kind of duality and that love of expression that Geminis are known for.
Yeah. Okay. You've convinced me. You've convinced me. Grapes for Gemini. I'm on board.
I'm glad.
Okay. So moving on. Cancer, the crab, very nurturing, very emotional. Likes to take care of people.
Yeah. Very much like the motherly sign, right? Yeah. Very, very caring, very compassionate.
Mm-hmm. And Cancer is paired with the peach.
The peach. Oh, okay.
Which Quick Bites described as soft on the outside, strong at the core.
I love that, yeah, because I think that really perfectly captures that duality of Cancer, right? They're very sensitive, they're very emotional, they have that kind of softness to them, but then underneath that there's this inner strength.
Yeah.
And this resilience, right? They're not afraid to protect the people they love, and they're very, very strong when they need to be.
Right. And the peach literally has that hard pit in the middle.
Exactly. It's you don't necessarily see it at first, but it's there.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny too, because I was also looking into the peach, and in Chinese culture, peaches are actually symbols of longevity and immortality.
Oh wow.
Which, again, you can kind of see that connection with Cancer, right?
Yeah.
They're very much about family and nurturing and kind of creating a legacy. Okay, moving on to Leo, the lion.
Mm-hmm.
Leo is the king of the jungle.
Yeah.
Very, very proud, loves to be the center of attention.
Yes, very charismatic, very generous.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Very, very warm.
Big personalities.
Big personalities, for sure. And Leo is paired with the pineapple.
The pineapple, yes.
Which Quick Bites described as bold, sweet, and impossible to ignore.
So do you think the pineapple really lives up to Leo's extravagance?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the pineapple it's such a statement piece, right? It's got this this crown on top. It's got this spiky exterior, but then you get inside, it's so sweet and juicy.
Yeah.
It's like a Leo, right?
Yeah.
They might have a little bit of a tough exterior, but once you get to know them, they're just all heart and warmth.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And thinking about pineapples, they're not a subtle fruit,
No, right. They make a statement when you see a pineapple, you're oh, there's a pineapple.
Yeah.
You can't miss it.
Exactly.
And it's kind of a Leo, when a Leo walks into the room, you notice.
Yeah, they're there.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so moving on to Virgo, the maiden.
Mm-hmm.
Virgo is very detail oriented, very practical. Love to keep things organized and clean.
Yes. Very much like the perfectionist of the Zodiac, right? Everything has its place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're very meticulous.
They're very analytical.
Yeah, for sure. And Virgo is paired with the apple.
The apple, okay.
Which Quick Bites described as practical and refreshing. And I was thinking that kind of fits with Virgo, but it also seems a little, I don't know, a little basic maybe.
Yeah, I see what you mean, because the apple it's very every day. It's very common, right?
Right, exactly.
But I think there's more to it than that, because if you think about the symbolism of the apple, it's so rich, right? You have the Garden of Eden, you have Newton's discovery of gravity.
Oh, right.
You have all these stories and myths that revolve around the apple.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that kind of speaks to Virgos, their love of knowledge, their desire for understanding,
mm-hmm.
and also the apple, it can be tempting, right? It's the forbidden fruit.
Right.
So there's also that element of maybe there's more to Virgo than meets the eye, right? There's that hidden depth that maybe not everyone sees.
Right, totally. Okay, so that's a good point. Yeah, I think you're right. There's definitely more to the apple than just a simple fruit.
For sure.
Okay. So moving on to Libra, the scales. Libra is all about balance, harmony, very diplomatic.
Yes, very much like the peacemaker of the Zodiac, right? Like always trying to find common ground.
Yeah, they hate conflict. They want everyone to get along.
Exactly.
And Libra is paired with the pair.
The pair, okay.
Which Quick Bites described as balanced and elegant.
Yeah.
So I mean that seems like a pretty straightforward connection, right?
Yeah, I think so because, the pear it's got that like very symmetrical shape. It's got that kind of like delicate sweetness to it. And I think that really reflects like Libra's desire for beauty and for balance in all things.
Yeah, and like, the pear is also it's not an overly sweet fruit. Right? It's got that kind of like, gentle sweetness.
Right, it's very subtle.
Yeah, it's very subtle, it's very refined, which, again, I think really fits with Libra's personality.
And actually, in ancient China, pears were used as symbols of justice and righteousness.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so again, like that idea of balance and fairness, which is so important to Libras.
Yeah, totally. Okay, now, this next one, I think this is a good pairing.
Oh.
Scorpio, the scorpion. Very intense, very mysterious, kind of like that brooding energy.
Yes, very passionate, very deep.
Yeah, they're definitely like one of the more complex signs, I think.
For sure, yeah, and there's always like a little bit of an air of mystery around them.
Yeah, totally. And Scorpio is paired with the pomegranate.
The pomegranate, yes.
Which Quick Bites described as complex and intriguing. And I just feel like that really fits.
Yeah, I mean the pomegranate, it's got that like very, very unique structure, right? Like it's got all those like little seeds inside, and they're kind of like hidden. You have to like work to get to them.
Yeah. It's not like an easy fruit to eat.
Exactly, and I think that kind of like reflects Scorpio's personality, right? Like they're not always the most easygoing people to get to know.
Right.
They have a lot of layers, and it takes time to really understand them.
Yeah, totally. And like, thinking about the symbolism of the pomegranate too, it's a very ancient symbol, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And it's often associated with like life and death and the underworld.
Yeah, like in Greek mythology, the pomegranate is associated with Persephone, the queen of the underworld.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So again, like very, very powerful symbolism there, very, very intense, which, I think really fits with Scorpio.
For sure.
Okay, so moving on to Sagittarius, the archer. Sagittarius is very adventurous, very optimistic, loves to travel, loves to explore new things.
Yes, very much like the free spirit of the Zodiac, right? Like always looking for new experiences.
Yeah, they're always like on the go. They're always like, expanding their horizons.
Always learning.
Always learning. Yeah, exactly. And Sagittarius is paired with the mango.
The mango, okay.
Which Quick Bites described as exotic and full of life.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good fit because, mangoes they're not a fruit that you find everywhere, right?
They're very much like a tropical fruit.
Yeah, they're very tropical. They're very like, vibrant and juicy and they just have that kind of like, sense of adventure about them.
Yeah, and it's like, when you eat a mango, it's such a sensory experience, right? Like the smell, the taste, the texture.
Right.
It's very much like, being transported to another place.
Totally. Yeah. It's like a little mini vacation in your mouth.
Exactly. And I think, that's very much in line with Sagittarius's their love of travel and their love of experiencing new things.
For sure. Okay, so moving on to Capricorn, the goat. Capricorn is very ambitious, very disciplined, very practical, very grounded.
Yes, very much like the hard worker of the Zodiac, right? Like very responsible.
Yeah, they're very goal oriented. They're very much about like, achieving success and building a secure foundation for themselves.
Definitely.
And Capricorn is paired with the coconut.
The coconut, okay.
Which Quick Bites described as tough on the outside, sweet on the inside. So I thought this was a really interesting pairing because coconuts they're not an easy fruit to get into, right?
Oh, you got to work for it.
You got to work for it. Yeah, like you got to crack that shell open. You got to put in some effort.
But once you do, it's so worth it.
Yeah. It's like the reward it's so sweet.
Exactly. And I think that, that really speaks to Capricorn's personality, right? Like they're not afraid of hard work.
Yeah.
They're willing to put in the effort to achieve their goals. And they're also, once you get to know them, they're actually very, very sweet and caring people.
Yeah, totally. And like the coconut is also it's very versatile, right? Like you can use it for so many different things.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that also reflects Capricorn's, their ability to adapt and to be resourceful.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay, so moving on to Aquarius, the water bearer. Aquarius is very independent, very unconventional, very much like a free thinker.
Yes, very humanitarian, very innovative.
Yeah, they're definitely like the rebels of the Zodiac.
Always questioning the status quo.
Always questioning the status quo. Yeah, they're not afraid to be different. They're not afraid to stand out.
And they're very much about, like, making the world a better place.
Yeah, totally. And Aquarius is paired with the dragon fruit.
The dragon fruit, okay.
Which Quick Bites described as unique and unforgettable. And I think that's a really good fit because, dragon fruit it's a very, very visually striking fruit.
Oh, yeah. It's got that, like, very, like, almost alien-looking appearance.
Yeah, it's very, like, otherworldly. It's very, like, you see it, you're like, what is that?
Exact.
And I think that kind of like reflects Aquarius's, their uniqueness, their individuality, their willingness to be different.
And it's like a relatively new fruit on the scene, right? Like it hasn't been around for that long,
right? Which
I think also kind of like ties into Aquarius's, their forward-thinking nature, their willingness to embrace new things.
Yeah, totally. Okay, and last but not least, Pisces, the fish. Pisces is very dreamy, very intuitive, very compassionate.
Yes, very sensitive, very artistic.
Yeah, they're definitely like the most empathetic sign, I think.
Very in touch with their emotions.
Yeah, very in touch with their emotions, very much like, feeling things very deeply.
For sure.
And Pisces is paired with the kiwi.
Okay.
Which Quick Bites described as soft, sweet, and a little mysterious. And I thought this was a really good pairing because, kiwis they're kind of like unassuming on the outside.
Right. They've got that like fuzzy brown skin.
Yeah. You don't really know what to expect.
You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah. But then like you cut it open and it's like this beautiful green color and it's so sweet and juicy.
It's like a hidden gem.
Yeah. It's like a hidden gem. Exactly. And I think that kind of like reflects Pisces, their inner beauty, their depth, their sensitivity.
Absolutely. And it's the kiwi, it's also very adaptable, right? Like you can eat it on its own, you can put it in smoothies, you can put it in salads.
Right.
And I think that kind of speaks to Pisces, their ability to go with the flow, to adapt to different situations.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny too because I was reading that kiwis were originally called Chinese gooseberries.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they kind of like, went through a rebranding at some point.
Interesting.
Which, again, I think kind of fits with Pisces, right? Like they're very much about like transformation and kind of like, reinventing themselves.
Definitely.
So, wow. Okay. That's all 12 signs. And I got to say, I'm kind of impressed with Quick Bites. Like, I think they did a really good job with these pairings. Like there's definitely some real connections there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's amazing how a simple concept like this, assigning fruits to zodiac signs,
right,
can actually like spark such a rich conversation about, symbolism and history and like, our own personalities.
Yeah, totally. And I think it just goes to show that like, there's always more to learn. There's always more to discover.
Absolutely.
And like even the things that seem like, kind of silly or superficial on the surface,
right,
can actually like have a lot of depth to them if you just like take the time to look a little closer.
Definitely.
So yeah, I'm curious to hear what our listeners think. Like, do any of these pairings resonate with you? Do you agree with them? Do you have any alternative fruits that you would assign to different signs?
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts. So yeah, until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep an eye out for those hidden connections in the world around you.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.